Okay, so today we're going deep on something really fundamental
Yeah.
to being human, connection and relationships.
Yeah.
You sent over some uh, really fascinating material called How to Human Part 5.
Right.
And I think our mission here is to kind of go beyond, just a surface level understanding of what it means to connect with people and why it matters so much.
Absolutely.
And to, really get down to those core truths and uh, insights that can really make a difference.
I love that.
So the notes that you shared, How to Human Part 5, Connection and Relationships,
Yeah.
it seems to be part of like a larger personal reflection, but
Yeah.
it does a really good job of outlining just how important these aspects of life really are.
Yeah.
It talks about the definition, the significance, uh, how these connections actually develop and evolve over time, the challenge that they face, and even offers some really relatable examples from real life.
Absolutely. It's not like a scientific, research paper or anything. It's more like practical wisdom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very grounded.
Yeah.
And for you, the learner who wants to gain knowledge quickly and thoroughly without feeling overwhelmed,
Right.
this deep dive is for you.
Yeah.
We're going to extract the most potent insights, the aha moments from within this material.
I love it.
And so let's just jump right in.
Okay.
How does the source define connection and relationships?
Well, it defines connection as that invisible thread that ties us to others.
Okay.
And it makes you feel seen and understood and valued.
I like that.
And then relationships are like the structures that sustain the connection over time.
Right.
But the thing about these structures is they require effort and trust and care.
So it's not just passive.
It's not passive.
You have to actually work at it.
It's a choice.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And so the source also talks about how this impacts our well-being in everyday life.
Oh, yeah. It has a huge impact on our happiness, our personal growth, and our emotional well-being.
In what way?
Well, just think about it. When you're going through a tough time and a friend offers you a supportive word, it can totally shift your perspective.
Right.
Or how about having a close-knit family to lean on during difficult times?
Yeah.
That gives you strength and resilience.
Okay, so it really helps you through those tough times.
Absolutely.
Makes you more resilient.
For sure.
Interesting. And it goes beyond just our personal lives, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. The source mentions how important these connections are for professional success, too.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, think about networking.
Right.
Or collaborating effectively with colleagues.
Yeah.
Or even finding a mentor who can guide you.
Yeah.
All of these depend on being able to make genuine connections.
So that's really interesting. So it's not just about like, feeling good.
Mhm.
It's actually like a really practical skill
Exactly.
that can help you in all areas of life.
For sure.
Okay, so why are connection and relationships so essential?
That's a big question.
Like we all interact with people.
We do.
So what makes these deeper connections so important?
Well, you see, as humans, we're social creatures. It's in our DNA.
Right.
From the moment we're born, we rely on connection for survival.
Right. As babies, we literally can't survive.
Exactly. We need that care and nurturing.
Yeah.
And that need for connection continues throughout our lives.
Okay.
It's how we learn, how we grow, and how we thrive.
So it's not just about like being social and, having friends. It's actually like fundamental to who we are
It really is.
as humans.
It is.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and there's tons of research that backs this up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, studies have shown that people with strong relationships tend to live longer.
Wow.
They have lower stress levels,
Mhm.
and they report greater overall happiness.
So it actually impacts your health and well-being.
It's not just correlation, it's causation.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is.
And what about people who are not connected?
Well, that's the flip side.
Yeah.
Loneliness is a serious problem,
Okay.
and it can have a huge impact on our health. In fact, research suggests that chronic loneliness can be as harmful as smoking like a pack of cigarettes a day.
Wow. That's a really powerful statement.
It is. It puts things into perspective.
It does, for sure.
So you see, connection is not just some optional extra.
Right.
It's a core human need.
Okay, and so the source is saying that this actually shapes every aspect of our lives.
It really does, even when we're not consciously aware of it.
Yeah, even when we're not thinking about it.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do we cultivate these connections?
Good point.
How do we actually get better at it?
Well, the source talks about the importance of intentionality.
Okay.
You have to be deliberate about investing in others.
So it's not just something that happens.
It's a choice.
Okay,
You have to make an effort.
got it. And what are some ways that we can do that?
One of the key things is being present,
Okay.
really present.
What does that mean?
It means Putting away distractions like your phone,
Right.
making eye contact,
Yeah.
and really listening to what the other person is saying.
So it's about making them feel heard and seen.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's about creating a space where they feel valued.
And so that's one way to kind of deepen that connection.
For sure.
Okay. What else?
Asking meaningful questions,
Right.
going beyond small talk,
Yeah.
and showing genuine curiosity about their experiences, their thoughts, and their feelings.
So it's about being curious about them as a person,
Exactly.
not just like, the weather or whatever.
Right. It's about going deeper
Yeah.
and showing that you care about their inner world.
Okay. And that can lead to more substantive conversations,
It always does.
which can help you connect
Exactly.
on a deeper level.
Right.
Okay. What about vulnerability?
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
The source says that real connection often happens when we're willing to be vulnerable,
Okay.
to open up about our feelings, even our struggles.
But that can be hard for some people.
It can be scary,
Yeah.
but it's often met with empathy and understanding.
Really?
And that strengthens the bond of trust.
So it's actually worth the risk.
It is. It's about showing your true self and letting people see you for who you are.
Exactly.
Okay. The source also talks about giving before taking.
Right. That's another key principle.
What does that mean?
It means offering support, encouragement, and just being there for someone without expecting anything in return.
So it's not about keeping score.
It's not about that.
It's about being generous.
Exactly. It's about contributing to the well-being of the relationship.
Okay. I like that. And then consistency.
Oh, that's so important.
How so?
Well, it's not about grand gestures. It's about the small things you do consistently,
Okay.
like checking in regularly,
Yeah.
remembering important dates,
Okay.
sending a thoughtful text or email.
So it's about showing up regularly.
It is. It's about making the other person feel like you're there for them.
Consistently.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about what connection and relationships are
We have.
and why they're so vital,
Absolutely.
and some ways to build them,
Right.
but it's not always easy.
It's not.
There are challenges.
There-
So what are some of the common challenges that we face?
Well, one of the biggest is the fear of vulnerability.
Right, we talked about that.
Yeah, a lot of people hesitate to open up because they're afraid of being rejected or judged.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
It's a natural human fear.
So what can we do about it?
The source suggests starting small,
Okay.
share a little something personal,
Yeah,
express gratitude for something specific,
right.
or even just admit when you're struggling with something.
So just like dip your toe in the water.
Exactly. And you'll often find that people respond with warmth and understanding.
And that makes it easier to open up more.
It does. It builds trust.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Another challenge is busyness.
Oh, yeah.
Just being busy with life.
Life gets in the way.
Yeah, work obligations.
Exactly.
Family stuff.
We get caught up in the day-to-day.
And our relationships can suffer.
They can.
So what can we do about that?
The source says we need to prioritize.
Okay,
Treat your relationships like important appointments.
so schedule them in.
Yes. Put them on your calendar.
Make time for them.
Exactly.
Okay, the source also mentioned something called protagonist syndrome.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept.
What is that?
It's basically the tendency to see ourselves as the main character in every situation.
Right.
And as a result, we might overlook the needs and perspectives of others.
Yeah, we're kind of like in our own little bubble
Yeah, we're so focused on our own story.
that we forget that other people have stories too.
Exactly.
And that's a problem.
It can be because it prevents us from truly connecting.
So how do we overcome this?
The source says we need to shift our focus
Okay.
from self-centered to mutual exchange.
Okay.
Listen actively.
Right.
Show interest in others.
Yeah.
And make sure the conversation isn't always about you.
Okay, so it's about making a conscious effort
It is.
to be more other-focused.
Exactly.
Got it. And then finally, the source talks about toxic relationships.
Right.
Those are tough,
They are.
but important to talk about.
Ab-
So what does the source say about them?
Well, it says we need to recognize the signs.
Okay.
Things like constant criticism, manipulation, and
Yeah.
feeling drained after interacting with someone.
Those are all red flags.
They are.
So what can we do?
The key is to set boundaries.
Okay.
Protect your emotional well-being.
So that might mean limiting contact
It might.
or having difficult conversations,
Sometimes.
but ultimately it's about taking care of yourself.
Exactly.
Okay. The source also provides some real-life examples
It does.
to illustrate these concepts.
Yeah.
So what are some of those examples?
Well, one example is Fred Rogers.
Mr. Roger.
Gus! Oh, I love him.
He was all about connection and kindness.
He was so good at making people feel seen and valued.
He was a master at it.
Even through the TV.
Even through the TV.
Wow, that's amazing. What about friendships?
Well, the source says that lasting friendships are built on consistency.
Okay.
It's about showing up for each other.
Yeah.
Through thick and thin.
Celebrating the good time. Absolutely.
And being there for the tough times.
Exactly.
Okay, and what about leadership?
The source says that successful leaders are often skilled at building relationships.
Okay.
They have high emotional intelligence.
Right.
And they create a positive and supportive work environment.
And that leads to better results?
It does. Employees are more motivated and engaged.
So it's a win-win.
Exactly.
Okay. The source also includes some reflection questions.
It does.
For us to consider.
Yeah.
So what are some of those questions?
Well, the first one is, do I make an effort to truly connect, or do I rely on surface-level interactions?
Okay. So it's about examining the quality of our interactions.
It is.
What's another question?
When was the last time I checked in with someone important without an agenda?
Okay, so it's about being intentional about connecting.
Exactly.
Not just reaching out when we need something.
Right.
Okay. What else?
Am I comfortable being vulnerable, or do I keep people at a distance?
Right, so it's about that willingness to open up.
It is.
Okay. And then...
Are there any unbalanced relationships in my life, and how can I address that?
So it's about recognizing and dealing with unhealthy dynamics.
Exactly.
Okay, and finding...
When I'm in a conversation, do I listen to understand, or am I just waiting to speak?
Right, so it's about being a good listener.
It is.
And really trying to see things from the other person's perspective.
Absolutely.
Okay, so those are all really powerful questions.
AR?
To help us reflect on our own connections.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
what would you say is the key takeaway from the source?
The key takeaway is that connection is not about just being around people.
Okay.
It's about being present,
Yeah.
being engaged,
Right.
and willing to invest in those relationships.
Because they're what make life meaningful.
Exactly.
Okay, and for you, the learner,
Yeah.
as you reflect on all of this,
Yep.
here's a final thought.
I love it.
Think about the connections in your own life,
Okay.
the invisible threads that tie you to others.
Yeah.
Which ones feel the strongest? And what small steps can you take today
Okay.
to nurture those bonds?
Right.
And maybe even weave some new ones.
I love that idea.
It's not about grand gestures.
Joe.
It's about the consistent effort
The small things.
that really makes a difference.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.